so wonderful to step up and to head this benevolent committee. And it's for anybody that could use, a pick-me-up or support, or if they've had a death in the family, or they're just going through a hard time, or if they, whatever it is, we are here to support you as a community. As we know, we come every week, and people come in and leave and drop in and visit, and that's wonderful. And you can't help but notice the community that's been formed around what we do and just each other. So that benevolent committee is just us saying, you know what, we're here to support you, and and to do that we need some information. So Audrey's going to be passing that sign-up sheet around. Also, for those of you who did not take the health survey, we would love for you to take that. It's very easy. It's a two-part or two-page, front and back questions. Really, it's to see how this program has impacted you, your health, your family's health. That information is invaluable to us when we are applying for funding. So, and furthermore, I want to get a pulse and to see how what we're doing is effective for you all. So that's good. All right, and the one thing I'm really excited about that I haven't done in a long time is have a quiz with prizes. So I've got this basket, and I'm just going to walk around. You can see all the really awesome goodies in there.
First answer is false.
Yeah, like pomegranate juice. Got a candle in there. I've got some dates, and this is all around about what we've been teaching. So there's some anti-inflammatory foods in there, but there are things like there's yoga in a box. There's what else is in there? The candle and chia seeds. So these are all wonderful little treats for those of you that can answer the questions correctly. Okay, so for those of you who don't know how the game goes, I'm going to ask a series of questions. There's no blurting out the answer. Lindsay's going to help me locate the first hand that goes up, and the first hand that goes up has the opportunity to answer the question correctly. If the answer is not correct, we then go to the next person that raises their hand. Okay? And then if you get the question correctly, we walk around the room with the basket and you get to choose your prize.
You get to give a hand to those that win.
Right. Sound right. We support each other. All right, so you're ready for the first question. Everybody understand the rules?
Yeah.
Okay, these questions are all about what I've been teaching about for the last 2 weeks. So if you've been paying attention, you'll do great. And you have to be fast. Okay. Question number 1. What percentage... I gotta put my glasses on. What makes me think I can read this without my glasses? Okay, okay. What percentage of disease is caused by chronic stress? 1, 62%, 2, 95%, 3, 82%, 4, none of the above. 95%? Yeah. That's correct. Okay, awesome. So, wow, I got yoga in a box. Awesome. Question number 2. What is an example of an inflammatory fat? 1, Jif peanut butter. 2, coconut oil. 3, butter. 4, olive oil. Eric.
Just peanut butter.
Jif peanut butter.
And Peter Pan, too.
And probably Peter Pan. Okay, so for all of you that think peanut butter is healthy, I caution you and just encourage you to read the labels. Because on a lot of these brands like Jif and Peter Pan, they have hydrogenated oil. That is an inflammatory fat. Okay? So what you want to look for is just peanuts and salt, or peanuts, just peanuts. So that should be in the ingredient list and not anything like hydrogenated oil, partially hydrogenated oil. Okay? Okay. Question number 3. Who can explain what happens in the body when you have a negative thought? We talked about this last week. Yes, Tom.
You have stress, anxiety, put your body in flight, and so you have a negative reaction to anything that seems threatening.
Great. Okay, so tell me a little bit more what happens physiologically in the body when you have that fight or flight. What happens?
Yeah, trying to think of the names of the stress hormones that are released.
Yeah.
And it's a toxin being released in your body that puts your body under attack.
Awesome. Okay, so that's awesome. So what happens in body, just as if you were running away from a monster or Mikey, remember Mikey, is that our body, there's no difference between a thought, which is perceived. It's not even, it could be that you got a bill that you weren't expecting. So the same thing happens in your body physiologically as if you're running away from a monster. So it goes into a hypervigilant state. It goes into fight or flight. There are hormones that are released, cortisol and adrenaline, that protect our bodies, that our heart rate goes up. And what else happens? Our heart rate goes up. What else happens? Our pupils dilated. The blood goes down to our extremities so that we could run. So these are all things that our body is in stress. Okay? So that, and also that is what wears on our bodies and causes inflammation in our bodies, is what Tom explained. So awesome. Great. What'd you pick? Candle. A candle to de-stress. I love it. Okay. True or false? Having high HDL cholesterol is a risk factor to heart disease. True or false? Ready? Okay. It's a trick question. It's a trick question. I said high, and I said cholesterol, but then I backed in, I went HDL. So, do you want to answer?
LDL is the bad cholesterol.
LDL is the bad cholesterol. Okay. So we want to make sure that we know when we're looking at our blood, if the doctor says you have high cholesterol and we freak out, and then really when we're looking at the numbers, it's really our high cholesterol or HDL numbers are elevated, that's good. We want that. We want our low lipid count, which is your HDL or LDL, to be really low. Okay, great. Okay, how many thoughts a day do we think? 1, 10 to 20,000, 2, 2 to 8,000, 3, 60,000 and more, and 4, 100,000 and more. Faith?
60,000.
60,000 is the correct answer. Awesome. All right.
60,000.
For you it is. Okay. All right, let me see. Okay, give me 3. This is a bonus questions. Bonus question. Give me 3 heart-healthy foods and give me 3 ways in which you can eat them.
Mangoes.
Oh, you want to answer the question, Bill? 3 ways. 3 different foods.
Mangoes?
3 different foods and 3 ways to
With
eat.
1 foot off the ground.
Yes.
We're getting hot.
So I would say coconut oil.
Okay.
You can cook with it.
Yep.
You can put it in smoothies.
Yep.
And you can put it on your body.
Awesome.
And
That's one.
another one could be oatmeal.
Okay.
You can soak it and eat it raw or cold. You could cook it. And you can bathe in it, and it'll help your skin.
Awesome. That's 2. You're doing good. One more.
One more healthy food.
Healthy food. Heart healthy food.
Okay, mangoes.
Okay.
You could put them in a smoothie. You can eat them as they are, and you can make a yummy curry with them.
Ooh.
That sounds good.
That sounds really good.
Chutney.
Or chutney or a salsa like we have a recipe for? Awesome. Great job. And she wasn't even at the class. That's awesome. Okay, so she described a healthy fat. She described oatmeal, which is high in fiber. And then she also talked about mango, which we're going to cook with today, that has very much high amounts of antioxidants and quercetin, which is anti-inflammatory, which is also good because we just talked about inflammation in the body. So awesome job, you guys. Great job. So now I'm going to introduce Allison. The yoga service movement tapped on our doors, what, it's been 2 months, 3 months?
1922.
November, since November. And they wanted to offer the service of yoga to our participants. And to me, it was a no-brainer because I know we all deal with stress on a daily basis. And I'm hoping to shed light on how important it is to pay attention to stress and chronic stress and how much of an influence it has on our health. So we want to equip you with the tools and the resources to help you with that. So Allison, I talked to Allison. I said, I'm doing a series on heart health, and stress is such a big factor in heart health. Would you like to talk about yoga? So she's going to talk to you about the benefits of yoga. There are many. And hopefully you will be encouraged to take the class, which is every Tuesday before this class at 10:30. And Allison can describe a little bit more about that class in her talk. But let's welcome Allison. She's wonderful. An amazing teacher.
Hi. So I'll tell you just a little bit about myself and then a little bit about yoga in general, and then we'll talk a little bit about yoga as related specifically to heart health. So I've been in Black Mountain for about 12 years and taught for 10 years, and was looking for ways to reach more people outside of studio and gym settings. Because there's really, really simple, powerful tools from yoga that I think can benefit everyone. And particularly, I was drawn to yoga because I could do it by myself. I didn't need anything except a mat. I could be barefooted. And the practice is gentle. But more important than that, I used it to overcome anxiety, not wanting to be on medication, and realizing that there had to be another way. And one of the tools that I use when I teach is that to entertain the idea that there's I think about it as we have kind of two components, many components, but two components that we all have, that we work with, and one is what I call, there's a lot of different words for it, our core or our essence, or I think it's the truth of who we are, is a deep part of ourselves that we all share, that we all have a capacity to be calmer, to be more content, to be less tossed about by the things that happen to us. And we reach that deeper place with, to a large degree, with breath work that we use through yoga, because breath controls the physiology of the whole body. So I love to think about if, not that we'd ever want to, but you could actually simulate a hyperventilation just by thinking about things that make you nervous and anxious, and beginning to breathe, forcefully breathe fast. And your whole body, your whole physiology would get on board and respond. And there you are. And you created that. And so we can create the opposite of that. We can practice tools to be able, I call it dropping in, to be able to drop into your body, to breathe deep, to slow down. Because I really think, it feels to me, things get faster and faster, and we get busier and busier, and we need tools to be able to slow down and to go internal and to be able to connect to those pieces of ourselves that are constant, that don't change. So essence or core or whatever you might want to call it, that deeper place, is one of the components. And then the other I just call the flux, and I think about it as the rest of our lives. Everything, all of our circumstances and situations that change, and they can change all the time, anytime. And I know for me, I used to feel so, it still happens, but I used to feel so tossed about and kind of tired of being, really happy when things were good and really down when things weren't. And it's kind of exhausting going between those 2 points. And so one thing that this practice gives me is a way to be a little more even and steady. And to not fret so much about what may happen. One thing, like Ali said, that we have millions of thoughts running through our heads, and that's the nature of our mind. That it's, I think about it like it's a train that never stops, and it's always going, and it's full of stuff. And we might notice sometimes that we typically are thinking about something that's already happened. So we're thinking about the past, or we're anticipating or thinking about something that's going to happen. Neither one of which are really the truth of the moment, but they can cause a whole lot of commotion and stress. So we use the breath in yoga to anchor, to center, and to be able to pay attention to the present moment. So the way that I practice and teach yoga, and I'll tell you just a little bit about that because you may have ideas of what it is, or typically we see a young, thin, white woman in a contortionist pose. And some people think, well, I can't do that, I'm not flexible, I can't do yoga. So one of the most important pieces in teaching a class is that if you're able to get into the class, you can do the class. And the physical part is modified. In this class here, we have some people in chairs that don't get up and down off the mat, and we have some people that do use the mat. And it doesn't matter. Everything that we do is adjustable. And also, you don't have to have started with us from the beginning. Each class is its own session. So I just want to welcome anyone, if you're interested, to come and check it out. And you can even come and sit and check it out if you just want to see what it's about. So, so the way that I practice and approach yoga is from a really practical standpoint. And physically, it's from a very anatomically based place of, in a variety of ways, we move the major joints of the body through the range of motion. Because when we do that, we're going to feel better. That's the way that our body was designed to move. And we don't typically do that every day. So it removes tension from the body, it unlocks energy. And there's that physical piece of it because we can't ignore our bodies. And we all know that. And so we can talk about a physical, a mental, and a spiritual piece of a yoga practice. That's the physical, just a sound anatomical practice. The mental piece is what I think is what I most cherish about it. And that is the work of breathing deeply in a way when we increase our inhale, that increases our exhale. And it begins to have a soothing effect on our nervous system. And then we can begin to anchor into this place where we feel a little more spacious, like it's a place to get to know. That most of us, we don't have time. We're so busy taking care of the details of our lives that we might not have time to get there. But also the cool thing is we don't need a lot of time. You could practice for just a couple of minutes and feel different. So that's the mental piece of it. And the spiritual piece of it is the way that I practice and present it is as simple as it connects us because of this inner strength that we develop. It connects us stronger and deeper to whatever it is that we believe, to whatever it is that gives us strength. Whatever we name that, it can connect us to that. So in general, those are the pieces of the practice. And as related, and you can already see there's a lot of pieces of that would be good for the health of the heart. But specifically, as far as and then we'll break that down just into physical and mental. And so the movement piece of yoga. So I'll say yoga is not a cardiovascular exercise, which is one of the reasons that I love it. But it does work the heart. So one of the things that we do is move, part of the time, move with an inhale and move with an exhale. And that syncing of breath and movement is harmonizing to our system. And also it works the major muscles of the body. Particularly we do that when we're standing. And so we're working all of the leg muscles, all the trunk muscles, the arm muscles, which works the heart. But it's being worked in this sustainable way that keeps us grounded and calm. So that's the physical piece of it. So another interesting thing about the work of the stretch and the exercise of yoga is that it has a positive influence on blood sugar. It helps the muscles be more sensitive to insulin. And once we move, if you move into a place where they're not sensitive and they're insulin resistant, then diabetes can happen. And when that happens, then the heart is much more likely to suffer. So there's the link with the heart there. And many of the benefits come from the breath. When we breathe, we make attempts to breathe as deep and full as we can. And when that happens, what we call a variability in heart rate strengthens. When we breathe deep, the heart rate increases. And when we exhale, long and slow, which happens after a deep inhale, then the heart rate lessens. And we want a healthy heart has that variability. And the practice strengthens the heart rate so that it's a stronger resting heart rate. And when we breathe deep, typically in a class we're going to breathe more deeply than we do in our normal lives, where we may pull air mostly just into the top of the lungs. So we breathe deeply enough, we pull it down to the lungs, often seeing some movement in the belly. But deeper in the lungs, there's more little capillaries. So all the veins and arteries branch off, and they branch and they branch. And there's a lot of little capillaries deeper in the bottom of the lungs. So when we breathe deep, circulation is increased in the whole body. There's more blood being pumped out. And there's more fluid exchange, which also means that there's more waste removal taken away. And that actually helps with pain when we're anywhere that's tight and constricted or hurts in the body. There tends to be little metabolic pools of waste. So this increased circulation just helps everything move. And so that physically, that's some pieces that work with the breath. And then on a level of nervous system. So one reason for this slow and measured movement is that we're working on calming and soothing the nervous system with this breath. And then that's where we're still talking about the breath, but then that's where we can lead in also to the mental piece of the practice, which is meditation and mindfulness. You know, we don't, at the end of one of these classes, we might meditate for a minute. So we don't need to think, and that minute matters. And what we do in the class is more mindfulness, meaning that we're simply paying attention and doing the work to not be distracted by the train of thoughts. So the effect that it has for us to gain the ability, which grows every time we practice, the effect that it has overall, we tend to feel more grounded, more in our bodies, more grounded, and also more open. We've opened up from the breath and movement, we've opened up energy in the body, which makes us feel more alive. And we've been able, one of the things we do is kind of watch what happens as we move through the practice. And notice that it's really hard to stay out of your head. And that there's never any judgment around how many times you bring your mind back to your breath and back into your body. It's just the practice. And if we can even capture a couple of seconds being in our body with this sort of breath, this deep breath, then there's a benefit. And so with the nervous system, there's two pieces of it. There's the sympathetic nervous system, which Allie was talking about. That's the part of our system that is geared for survival. And you know, originally it was we were designed to be able to run from a tiger and to actually save ourselves. So all these physiological things happen to enable us to run fast and flee and save ourselves. So now we don't really need to know how to do that, but we still have that mechanism in our body. And so our body interprets a stress over traffic or a stress over a phone call pretty much in the same way that it interprets being chased by a bear. Which makes it even more important, since we aren't fighting for survival, it makes it even more important to be able to feel what that does internally. And we can feel it. You can feel adrenaline when that cortisol gets released into the body. And so we want to, so that's sympathetic. And in our yoga practice, we're working with the parasympathetic, which is that part of our nervous system that heals us. That's the part that goes, I'm okay. Everything is okay. And that's one of the big pieces. That's one of the big pieces that I worked with overcoming anxiety, is sinking into this space where you can come to really believe you're okay. If you're, no matter what's going on, and you strengthen that piece where you can drop in and say, okay, you know, this is not going at all the way that I want it to go, but actually, I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay. So, that's about it. I welcome you to, like I said, anytime I don't have any plans to discontinue this, I'll go as long as it's working for everyone. And I want to thank Allie and all of you for allowing me to be here. And you know, for me, I get to create new circumstances to reach more people, and I really appreciate that. So feel free to join us anytime at 10:30 on Tuesdays. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, Allison.
questions?
What room?
What's that?
Where do we meet you exactly?
Right in there.
In this
Go to that
room
door
back
that's
here?
open right there, yeah. And I have mats and everything we need.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
On average, how long does a person participate in yoga exercises to get results? 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
So if you can, you guys, the class is still going on. Please just keep your voices down because there's really some really good questions, and I want to give Allison the opportunity to answer these really great questions. So thank you.
So in other words, are you saying how long do you need to practice each day to matter? I think that regularity, as with anything that we do to take care of ourselves, regularity is far more important than the length of it. If you could do 10 minutes a day, that's great. You know, I think figuring out a really reasonable amount of time and then do that every day rather than try to do half an hour a couple times. And it grows, you know, you'll find that with a few tools, a couple minutes, you feel different. You move your body in certain ways, you feel different, you're a little bit more grounded, open, calm, and then you're going to want to do more. But starting with a really simple. And if you're ever interested in knowing a little segment that you can use at home, I'm happy to help with that. At some point we'll have some downloads that you could on your phone or computer to use for things like that.
On your website?
Yeah.
Do you have a website?
And it's under construction. It's yogaservicemovement.org.
Could you please tell people there's different kinds of yoga because some of it is like so extreme?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it can range from a really intense physical practice, everything from that, to a really esoteric kind of out there practice, and then everything in between. And so that's what, you know, I feel like after, you know, teaching, one of the things that I've gained from teaching this long is being able to meet people where they are. And that's important to me. I think, you know, there's millions of people that have benefited from yoga, and there are some varied settings, but most of them it's a gym or it's a studio. And it's certain types and styles of yoga. But really, yoga is about, the word means join. And I think about it as joining yourself to your deeper self. It's joining your breath and your movement. It's the physical piece is actually kind of a small piece of it. And I think that every time one of us has the opportunity to become more self-aware, then we all benefit. Every time that happens. Because we affect each other and we're affected by each other. Anybody?
What you're saying and what you're doing is very good. And I think it's good. But yoga is associated in a lot of people's minds with gurus and teachings that might be a little bit strange or wrong or dangerous.
Absolutely.
Now, if you don't go that way and you just stay with what you're doing, I think it's good.
Yeah, but what has been going on is they've been saying that yoga is a Hindu religious practice in a lot of the churches.
The people have that belief.
And so it came from India. And for a long time it was really steeped in Hinduism. And in the West, you know, it was 60s, I guess, when it began to happen. And it was brought over by gurus. And so I think that it's important. Everyone, you know, has a different presentation of it. But for me, it's really important to separate that and to be clear that how I practice and teach is separated from that. I call it a spiritual practice. for the reason that it enables us to connect with Source, with Divine, with God, with whatever we name it. And for me, it doesn't tell you what to believe, it just helps you connect stronger to that. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
It's been very helpful. When you first come, I was in my walker still, and there were some difficulties with is that standing pose? What is that? Warrior 1 and Warrior 2. But as I do it each time, it gets better. My memory goes further. It's all about breathing into that and going to your extreme, not total extreme, painful extreme, but to that place, and then be able to come back out. So that's what I very much appreciate.
I've been yogified. I really pay little attention to those around me. I'm focusing on me, and what is people-wise there, it's A to Z. I mean, I used to be in sports all through college and then after, and I'm now to the point where I can't do what I used to be able to do, even though I think I'm still 20. But anyway, I use the chair, and I'm able to do some things, and some balances I'm not. And so, and I see some people sitting back and just relaxing in the moment. So it's all good for anybody. I think anybody can benefit from it, and it will relax you. It's very soothing, even though all this commotion's going on out here with putting food out and talking amongst each other as friends and kind of a family we have here. But it's you focus on what you're supposed to focus on. It's very relaxing, and it'll work for the whole week, even though we're only here for 45 minutes, but it'll work for the whole week because you get in that mindset, and it does relax you. So it's very good, very helpful. We're glad you're here, and continue on.
So what you're saying is getting in a quiet place helps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like going out in the woods, and hearing the birds sing.
I'm one of the students of Allison, and what I especially love about her class is that we go through the whole range of motion. I don't have any aches and pains anymore. I used to be in a lot of pain. And it's not preachy in any way. Allison has a special gift of teaching to your own level. And you don't have to go beyond that.
I have diabetes, but I control it with diet, and so I really appreciate you being here with the yoga class. It has helped a lot for me to continue to just do the diet.
For our elders especially, yoga can really help with balance, which is an amazing thing, and it can actually help you with your proprioception, which is being aware of where your muscles are in space so that you don't have as high a risk of falling.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I've got 4 minutes. I will do my best. So you see on my table a lot of different colors. I have 2 different mango smoothie recipes on this sheet and a mango salsa. This mango salsa is really, really a great like topping for whether you're having chicken or fish. It's also a great dip that you can use. And as far as the smoothie goes, I always create these recipes as guidelines, but once I get all the ingredients out on the table, I just I just put them in. So, but each one of these recipes you can use as a guide, but for today's smoothie, since I've laid everything out, I'll probably put everything in it. But it doesn't mean that you have to create it that way. These two recipes, I'm basically going to combine and make an awesome smoothie. So we have lots of mangoes, and again, you guys have been with me, some of you, long enough to know that either I'm going to use what we have a lot of to encourage you to experiment and create with that type of produce. And today we have quite a few mangoes. And mangoes are one of those fruits that people don't really use very much or really experiment with. They are low on the glycemic index, so if you are diabetic, it is a fruit that you can eat it in moderation, I would say, just like a banana. But it's also a natural sweetener. So when you put it in your smoothie, you're really not needing to add any sort of other sweetener to that. So what you want to look for in a mango is you want to make sure that when you pick it up that it is firm but soft, meaning you can squeeze it a little bit, but there's no dents in it. If some of the mangoes, because we get fruit that is going to be thrown away sometimes, or it's imperfect, even if it has a few spots that are a little bit soft, that's okay, you can cut around them. So anyway, we have also two different types of mangoes. They're look like this, and has anybody seen these mangoes around? Okay, these are super, super sweet. So either or, they're, some of them have a little bit more carotenoid in them, which is a pigment, which is a phytochemical that helps us in so many ways. It's anti-inflammatory, helps with pain. Also, it's very good with high in digestive enzymes, so it's really good for digestion. Mangoes are, as well as papayas and pineapple. So anyway, so I'm going to make a smoothie and allow you guys to go through the line. Please come and try the smoothie. The one thing about mangoes people ask me all the time is how do you cut them? There's a couple of different ways you can do it. Some people peel them. I don't recommend the condition of these mangoes that you peel them. They're a little bit softer than what I would do to peel. So you want to, a couple of key things I want to tell you about the mango and getting to the meat of it is the pit runs this way. Okay? So if you go to cut it in half, you're going to hit the pit. So you want to make sure that you're going to cut around the pit. So what I do usually is I'll cut the tips off to create stability and you do that, that's typical in all the foods that you cut, especially squashes that are big and cumbersome. You always want to cut it so that it's stable, because you know you're using a sharp knife, and you don't want to cut your fingers off. So that is also a rule of thumb, especially with the mango. You want to create a base so that you can cut with. So at this point, on these mangoes, because they are super ripe, what I would suggest is that just taking your knife and peeling it down this way and cutting the skin off this way. Okay, that is a way to do it. Oh, they smell so good. It reminds me of the beach. I have to crack open the coconut oil and then I'll get the full experience. Anyway, so then you peel it and then you can lay it down this way and then just cut. Now when you hit the pit like I just did, that's okay. Just move your knife, okay, to where you don't hit the pit. And then you just keep cutting around it and you're basically cutting around the pit. So the other way that has been shown is, and it's kind of a fancy way, well, I guess I could do it on this side, is you don't peel it and you cut down a piece like that. And this is for people that I recommend that are comfortable with knives, because you're holding it in your palm and then you're just scoring it like this. You're just making these little squares. And then you're flipping this out like this, and that's where you get the chunks, like that. Okay? And then you can just then take your knife and cut these off. Now, the other thing I recommend with these mangoes is that you freeze them. These are awesome to put into smoothies in a frozen state. What I caution you on is that you don't just get the meat and stick it in the freezer. You want to process it down, put it on a cookie sheet, and stick it in the freezer and let it freeze in either pieces or in these chunks. You freeze them first that way, take them out, and then put them in Ziploc bags. Okay, so if you cut, because what happens is if you cut it and it's all juicy, and you cut it in chunks and just stick it in a bag, that's what you're going to get when you open the bag. It'll all be stuck together and it'll be all a big clump. Which if you want to do that, that's fine too. So those are different ways that you can cut the mango, prepare the mango, but I don't care how you do it, just get the mango in your body and get the health benefits of it. So I'm going to start making the smoothie. You guys can start going through the line. The other thing I did on the back of this recipe are the 10 health benefits of mango. They're great for your skin if you have clogged pores.